Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping into a rather dark, incredibly atmospheric, and honestly, utterly fascinating philosophical landscape. We're going to dive deep into a dialectical Gothic fable, a philosophical deep dive that wrestles with meaning, existence, and the staggering reality of the void. We'll be exploring what happens when absolute nihilism crashes headfirst into the unbreakable human will through a Fichtean dialogue. It is a dense, incredible concept, so let's jump right in. Strange. The castle keeps no looking glass in its corridors. The king does not believe in them. A man of power needs no confirmation of his face. He knows his face. He has been told his face by every courtier paid to find it admirable. And yet, here is a mirror, standing in the corridor as though it has always stood here, as though it was here before. Now this beautifully sets the stage for our fable, doesn't it? It introduces us to the Knight of Reason, a ruler sitting on a crumbling throne, totally trapped in this beautiful cage of external validation and completely divorced from his own true reflection. Chapter 1. The Castle of Reason versus the Crimson Jester. So there's a stark, uncompromising contrast between our two archetypes here. On one side, we have the Knight of Reason. He relies entirely on the herd for his validation. His authority is chained down by what Nietzsche called the spirit of gravity, and his whole worldview, it's really just a painted mask of reason. But opposing him is the Crimson Jester, or the Wille Narr, and the Jester operates through absolute nihilism. He is the literal manifestation of the Jungian shadow, fueled by this internal fire, acting as a metaphysical disruptor whose sole purpose is to completely dismantle those beautiful cages the Knight so desperately protects. The core concept driving our jester is the absolute ich. This is a Fichtean principle, where an individual posits their own existence through sheer force of will. Think about that for a second. The Villinar doesn't need courtiers, kings, or even the heavens to tell him he exists or has value. His self-positing will requires absolutely zero validation. He defines himself from the inside out, totally independent of historical legacies or crumbling thrones. Moving on to Chapter 2, Laughter in the Void. If you're a sovereign being in a disenchanted wasteland, your primary metaphysical weapon is active laughter. And we are not talking about simple humor or a sign of levity here. No, this laughter is jagged. It's like cracking ice. Its specific design is to shatter that spirit of gravity, anchoring traditional moral and legal authority. It's an ontological deconstruction, meaning it breaks down the very nature of what we believe is real. It rips away the veil of Maya, dissolving artificial social masks to reveal the chaotic, staggering reality underneath. This brings us to a complete philological transvaluation. The jester is literally changing the fundamental definitions of the world to reclaim sovereignty from archaic, dead metaphors. Look at the shift. To the herd, laughter is just humor, but to the jester, it is a jagged blade. To the herd, the void is a state of despair. To the jester, it's an absolute purifying abyss. And while the herd sees reason as order and truth, the Wilnar recognizes it merely as a painted mask upon the face of the nothing. It is a total, radical inversion of values. Chapter 3. Embracing the Jungian Shadow. So what happens when the knight finally looks into that unexpected mirror? Well, he doesn't see the admirable face his courtiers promised him. He peers straight into the purifying abyss. What follows is an agonizing psychological death. By embracing this nihilistic void, the elaborate facade hiding the staggering nothingness at the core of human constructs just falls completely apart. The knight's painted masks dissolve into mere sawdust. To survive this psychological death, you essentially have to undergo an inverted hero's journey. Step 1, you must shatter the spirit of gravity, letting go of all the old laws. Step 2, you step into the seventh solitude. Step 3, you integrate the Nietzschean shadow, fully accepting your own internal chaos. And finally, step 4, you emerge to claim the gift of the blade, becoming your own divine lawgiver. That turning point, the seventh solitude, is crucial. This is a terrifying domain of active nihilism. You step entirely beyond the safe, comfortable boundaries of society. There is absolutely no external morality left out there. The silence is deafening. But it's in this exact, godless space that the individual survives the death of all idols. This terrifying silence is the necessary crucible for the sovereign architect to actually be born. Chapter 4. Forging the Proto-Übermensch. Our synthesized sovereign emerges from the solitude with this chilling, powerful realization. Look upon the bleached heavens and laugh, for the absolute ik has no master. Do you see the great star? It does not rise to guide you. It rises to incinerate the piteous gods and the slave morality that kept you in your pews. That right there is the proto-Ubermensch speaking. Sovereignty is defined here entirely through the sheer destruction of the old artificial world. The proto-Ubermensch claims authority solely through the will to power, the will is mocked. He completely rejects any validation from silent heavens or crumbling thrones. Instead, he carves his own meaning directly into the cold meat of the disenchanted wasteland. And most importantly, he accepts internal chaos not as something to fear, but as the ultimate supreme creative force. And finally, Chapter 5, The Verdant Gold Truth. You see, there's a stark contrast between two ways of living once you realize the universe is fundamentally indifferent. The heroic will tries to impose rigid, lasting order. It's driven by the must of destiny, which this philosophy sees as a spiritual incarceration, a literal treadmill of blood. The Narr rejects this entirely. He embraces the play of the child, recognizing the freedom to play as the only rational response to a silent cosmos. Instead of exhausting himself chasing eternal fame, he simply dances upon the grave of his own ambition. And this leads us to the ultimate philosophical revelation, the verdant gold truth. It is a synthesis. The gold represents human ambition and our will to create. The verdant represents the inevitable cosmic decay, nature eventually reclaiming all striving. By accepting that life is a magnificent doomed dance upon a grave, the Narr completely avoids the trap of passive, depressive nihilism. He finds immense, staggering power in the act of becoming, right there amidst the ashes of reality. And so we reach the climax of our dialectical Gothic fable. The jester realizes his ultimate freedom, declaring, "I am the Wille Narr, the sovereignty of the laughing will, positing my own existence because I and only I will it to be. My laughter is the jagged blade that shatters the spirit of gravity. The void is open, the old tablets are smashed, and I am the sole architect of this magnificent, doomed drama." So, why does all this matter? What is the core takeaway from our explainer today? It's that the Narr justifies his own existence. He doesn't wait for permission. He takes the rhythmic sounds of the world's collapse, the falling empires, the fading dogmas, and he turns them into a new, harmonious music. True sovereignty means ruling over the wasteland as an autonomous creator, completely free of the beautiful cages that bind the herd. Which leaves us with one final, haunting thought to consider. If the absolute itch requires absolutely no external master, do you have the will to peer into your own mirror, shatter the spirit of gravity, and dance upon the ashes? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive today.